I figured I'd give you a little preview as to what will happen to you one day. Decomposition. It's gonna happen to everybody. And as a mortuary science major, somebody who's going into the funeral business, I have a lot to say. But I'm gonna try and break this down into very little pieces because I've been studying this for years. Like when I say years, I'm talking years. Pretty much my whole adolescence, from age 11 to now that I'm 20, I've known so much about this subject. I figured I'm qualified to talk about this, mainly because of the time span that I've been talking about this, and also because I will be your future mortician. Just saying. Anyways, the moment you die, so somebody shoots me right now and I'm dead, what's gonna happen? The first thing that happens is blood loss. But the oxygen to my tissues is gonna cease. No more oxygen to my tissues. Cells switch to anaerobic metabolism, producing lactic acid. pH drops, so all of those cells rupture. After the pH drops, something called autolysis happens. Autolysis is when enzymes begin to start digesting themselves. So this is where the gross stuff starts to happen after. And this is about 1 hour after death. So I'm laying on the ground, this is an hour after I've been shot. Pupils dilate, muscles relax, the skin starts to turn pale at about 1 hour. 1 hour going into 2 hours. 2 to 3 hours after death, this is when ATP starts to come into play. I'm sure you've heard about it. This is where rigor mortis starts to happen. So if you don't know what rigor mortis is, it's where you're very stiff. Why does this happen? I'm sure you've heard of actin and myosin. My A and P peers know. Actin and myosin filaments lock together. So this is what causes the rigor mortis. And after this stage, I'm sure this stage is kind of skipped over a lot, but there's something called livor mortis that happens. Livor mortis is when the blood starts to pool in the bottom of the body. It creates that purple reddish coloring. So if you've ever seen a dead body, look at the bottom. Look at the bottom of their, like, so if they're laying down, look at the bottom, or if they're upside down, or not upside down, but if they're like laying on their face, look at that whole area. It'll turn red and purple because livor mortis, the gravity is pulling the blood down. 6 to 12 hours after I've been shot, rigor mortis is fully established, so I am as stiff as a board. You can't move me. It's not happening. My organs are 100% starting to break down. I do not smell yet, though. I will not smell yet, because I'll get into that. Any sort of bacteria that I had, or any sort of anything that was going to happen, will multiply because I don't have that immune defense anymore. So if, per chance, you can't just use per chance, I were to eat something, right? If I ate something, if right now I was sitting here and I got shot, 6 to 12 hours later, if I had ate something that was gonna give me food poisoning, whew. See, there's a little exception to this, though, because if I were to die, I got shot right now, died 6 to 12 hours later, if I had gotten food poisoning, that food poisoning would trigger putrefaction, which usually at 6 to 12 hours I wouldn't be smelling, or at least it wouldn't be what you think, like the classic dead body smell. It wouldn't be that bad. But if I were to have the food poisoning in me, that would trigger putrefaction because there's no host, there's no immune system that is going to defend me anymore. So yeah. Oh, and important, if, and I hope this doesn't happen, but if, you never know, you were to have somebody in your family or friend or whoever were to die and they were to get a autopsy, and you're reading it, right? If they were to have food poisoning, it wouldn't be called food poisoning. It would be called post-mortem microbial activity. So just to let you know, they're not going to label it food poisoning. They would see this overgrowth and they would label it as that. So it wouldn't be labeled food poisoning. So if you see that in the notes, know that that's what that means. 24 to 36 hours, rigor mortis starts to go away. So it's not present anymore, but this is the area where the gases start. And by the way, I'm saying this whole example is if you're left out. That's why I gave the example if I was shot. So if I was shot, all of this would happen if nobody found me and I was out in the open. If I was out in the open, dead on this ground, nobody found me for the amount of time that I'm saying. So 24 to 36 hours, I'm here. So it's a little different if you are in the casket, already buried. It's different if you are in the cooler, if they take you to the cooler in the morgue. It's way different process. But I'm saying this is what they have observed at body farms, where they're out in the open, where where the bugs are able to fully do its magic. This is what I'm talking about. It's a whole different process with anything else. In fact, it's actually quite personal, your decomposition rate. It truly depends on a bunch of factors. So like even this is kind of iffy. It really depends. But that's why I'm giving the example of I'm just here on the ground. So at this stage, the 24 to 36 hours, I'm starting to bloat because now there's gases that are starting to build up. So yeah, this is kind of the part where, if you've heard of it, it's something called postmortem fetal excursion. And how it happens is that all of these gases build up and then it pushes out a fetus that was not born. So if the mother died while she was pregnant, this is around the time where postmortem fetal excursion would happen, because all those gases push it out violently. Around this stage, some morticians would describe the stage as smelling as sweet, sickly sweet, because of the sulfur. So don't come up to me at this time, please. Just let the ants come and take me, please. Around 36 to 48 hours, bloating really intensifies, so I'm truly bloated. If you've ever seen an image of a person who's bloated, you could see that their face is just like, so you see my face right now? That's not gonna look, it's depending on how I fall too. So if I were to fall like this, then I'm most likely gonna fall on the back of my head or on the side. So bloating, depending on gravity, and livor mortis, it's all going to fall. Whether or not I fall on my face, bloating is going to be all like that. So this is the time period where the smell is going to start being really bad. 48 to 72 hours is where active putrefaction is going to happen. So this is like the horrifying stage. This is the stage where nobody wants to see. And this is why fellow morticians go to school and they learn reconstructive facial, and they do embalming so that you cannot see your family member in this stage, because quite honestly you don't want to. Around this stage too, something called marbling. I'm not sure if I can put up pictures. So marbling happens when there's bacteria in the vascular system. So the hydrogen sulfide reacts with the iron hemoglobin. This forms an iron sulfide, which is which forms the iron sulfide. The iron sulfide is the part where you see, it's like the black. Follows the superficial veins, which causes that branching marbling effect. This, however, though, appears faster in warmer climates. So, San Antonio, so 3 to 5 days, rigor mortis has stopped, and now I'm starting to leak. So you bloat, and then you start leaking. The organs are liquefied at this point, or largely liquefied. Around 5 to 10 days, the soft tissue breaks down. A bunch of the gases are already expelled. The odor is horrible at this time period, so because the gases are escaping. So if you ever smell, if you're going around somewhere and you ever smell something absolutely horrifying, note it's probably around 5 to 10 days post-mortem. And if you also see the body and you start to see a little bit of skeleton coming in, it's most likely 5 to 10 days post-mortem. So you're probably thinking, this is horrifying, I'm getting cremation instead. allow me to do a video on cremation too. I'm gonna do a video on that, explaining exactly the science behind that, so that you can know. You just gotta accept it at some point, that this is what's gonna happen. Which, accepting that all of this gross stuff is happening, in my opinion at least, will truly make you happier. And it may seem like, oh, how does that make you happier? Because it makes you live life in the moment, really. And it sounds, if you're not accepting of this kind of stuff, or if you're scared, that's completely normal, and you'll forever be scared of this. Even I'm still scared of it, despite the fact that every single waking hour of my life, from 11 to this present moment, talking about it, I've deep dived into death and decomposition so much. Mainly because it scares the heck out of me. Like, yeah, I'm scared, but it's in everybody's biology, and you can't get rid of it. You can't. You can decrease the level of fear that you feel. So the level of fear that I feel is not nearly as bad as it was when I first comprehended what death was when I was like 7. I went to like an open casket funeral. That was when I was like, oh. But I, honestly, at the time, I was just thinking that's a problem for 50-year-old Judy. Like, when I was a kid, when I was like 7 to like 10, I was like, that's an issue for later on. But then, when I started to get to 11 till now, I've gone through that whole process of realizing that it is important to know this. It truly is. Because you may not think it, but once you know the mechanism or the science behind something, whatever it is, your brain starts to treat it as, oh, okay, well, this is predictable. And the more you start thinking about it, so the more you think about it over and over and over and over again, at least that's what I did, the more your brain starts to see this as a predictable, oh, this is going to happen. Yeah, it's scary, but that's more of a biological fear than it is a lack of comprehension type of fear. Because we fear the unexpected. If you're expecting this, if you already know exactly what's going to happen minute by minute, your brain starts to kind of flag that as, oh, well, this is happening, but that's an issue for the future. Hopefully I can give you some sort of lessening of that fear and give you an explanation for it, because everything is explainable with science.